envelope, again, of Gaza City, urban fighting, different set of skills, and also a different set of risks, if you will.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the positives that are going on. When it comes to murdering and killing babies and women and children and so forth, obviously Hamas seems to have found itself equal to that task in the most appalling way. When it comes to combating terrorists, when it comes to face-to-face battles between the Israel Defense Forces and Hamas fighters or terrorists, we are winning that fight. I want everybody to be very, very clear. There we prevail, there we will continue to prevail, and there actually has not been a single encounter in which we have not prevailed in the context of this war. I'm not talking about the days of old, I'm talking about right now. In addition to that, what's very interesting is you're not seeing Hamas leak pictures of dead Israeli soldiers or dead terrorists or any such thing. Why? Because when it comes to what they're seeking in terms of the propaganda war, they can't claim any victories whatsoever in the battlefield.
And interestingly enough, they're also asking Gaza residents not to publish things online, completely opposite to their strategy so far.
They are completely unable to claim anything that looks like victory whatsoever. It's very, very positive. I also want to go back to the map that was shown. It gives a very clear idea when one analyzes the satellite images coming out of the United States about where the fighting is. Over in those towns that were mentioned, about 19 to 25% of the buildings have been flattened by way of our aerial bombardment. Now, if you go down to the south, however, where the Israel Defense Force and the government is urging the Gazans to move, to get out of the striking zone, if you will, there's about 3 or 4%. So all of those who allege that we're not keeping them safe when we urge them to move down south, the Gazan civilians, completely false. The photographs prove it to be the case. We are asking them to go where it's safe, and we ensure their safety there.
And before I ask you to elaborate a bit further about the it is dubbed humanitarian relief as if you're doing a favor, but it is actually a tool to be used as part of the goals of the war, the objectives of this war. But before we address that, you mentioned the American satellites, and I want to segue to the American stance in this respect. Obviously, there is a much evident American trauma from their experiences in Mosul, etc., and they want to prevent Israel from doing the same mistakes. And yet, it is a completely different ballgame, because in Mosul, for example, you had ISIS fighters roaming the streets with weapons, etc. But here we're talking about 10 years of well-orchestrated underground infrastructure that was established. It's not the same.
It's not the same, and you've just expressed one difference. Let me talk about another difference.
Please.
The fact of the matter is that, unlike in Mosul, the troops taking the fight to the terrorists in this case are IDF soldiers. What can the IDF soldiers see from their forward operating positions? They can see the homes that they're defending.
Yes.
They can see the people that they're defending. They can see the houses in which their parents live and to which they want to return in good conscience once the guns have fallen silent. And that will come. It will take a long time, but that will come. A key difference that, quite frankly, it's very difficult to understand if one hasn't actually served and fought here. But I can tell you from experience, from our forward operating positions, you can oftentimes see the very homes that you're defending. That didn't happen in Mosul.
No, it did not. Ariel, I do want us to talk about the humanitarian aspect later on this weekend. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken is going to arrive here once again, and we know